And so if you're somebody that wants something intentional and laid out, and then you are receptive to feedback as well, I think that you will really gain a lot out of this, and this would be a great fit for you.
Hi, Amanda. Thank you so much for joining me today. Before we dive in to some of the questions that I have for you, will you introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure thing, Megan. So, hi, my name is Amanda. I am a millennial mama. I am a Michigander. Yeah, I guess I do all the things. So, I work full time in higher education and program management, but I also have a Pinterest management business. So, I'm serving and supporting clients, specifically women based clients and businesses that are interested in using Pinterest to increase their sales, their leads, and just expand their network to move their businesses forward.
The actual definition of being like one of the busiest people I know, plus having a young family, you are a very busy person. For that reason, we will jump right in. How did you discover that you may want more help with your Pinterest management business, or what were you sort of going through that you decided to reach out about it?
Yeah, I started Pinterest management in October of 2023. Originally, when the pandemic hit, I started being a virtual assistant and freelancing that way. When 2023 rolled around, I decided I wanted to niche down a bit more. And my background is in performing arts, so being creative felt like a nice way to pivot to niching into Pinterest. And so at that point, that allowed me to, have about 2+ years of experience and some other programming from others in the space under my belt, but I still felt like I needed some more mentorship and guidance on the business aspect of it. So I was more or less comfortable and confident with what Pinterest as a platform was and how I can be leveraging that for myself and clients that I'm serving. But I think when it came to my business model, how can I expand it? How can I think about the offerings? How can I think about it at a higher level so that when the time comes to leave my full-time work and make the pivot for this being my full income source, that was a piece that I felt I didn't have enough in my back pocket. And so that led me towards thinking, how can I get that information? How can I get that coaching? How can I get kind of that last piece of the puzzle?
I think I remember one of our early conversations, you were like, I'm an education girl. Like, I love learning and I feel like I have this piece missing. And I don't think you're really alone. I think there's so much of like some work you can, read about, watch other people doing it. You learn quite a bit from actually implementing, but it does feel like when it comes to the business strategy of running, like being a Pinterest manager or Pinterest strategist, there's this part that nobody talks about publicly. Now, how did you find me? I don't remember. I know I asked you before, but how did you come upon the work that I do?
Yeah, I think I found you first on Instagram, but then I
Mm.
popped over to Threads, and then from
Ah.
there got into your email list and was that silent, like in the back,
Yeah.
emails trickle in for probably, I want to say, I don't know, 6 to 8 months.
Really? I didn't realize it was that long. Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. I love
So
that. It's
I was sitting in the back seat of the car, just, keeping my head in my book, but looking through the
yeah.
emails and seeing you, consistently show up on social. And then once I realized that it wasn't just how you're teaching others how to use Pinterest, but then
Mm.
also the accelerator, then that was when the light bulb went off.
I think I really don't talk about the V Accelerator, which is really why I wanted to sit down with you. Because I think most people find me for Pinterest. And then in my personal conversations, I get asked if I coach or mentor Pinterest managers. And I do. It just is something that naturally people find their way to me, often after they've maybe tried to figure it out on their own or they've taken another program or course that they just felt like they didn't get the whole picture. Now, we don't need to name names, but you did mention you have taken other courses and programs, and those helped you get started. But then it sounds like, if I heard you correctly, you can correct me, that you were really thinking about sort of like you mentioned this like last piece. So it was more like the one to one coaching, the more like these are my specific questions. So is that why you were more drawn to this particular coaching program? So it was more high touch, more personalized.
Exactly. So I think in higher education, I work at a business school. And so there's so many of these business concepts that like curricular wise I'm surrounded with, seeing students that I'm working with firsthand, like, learn and implement in real time. But thinking about that when it came to my freelancing and business as a Pinterest manager, I hadn't put as much time and attention and thought behind it. So how could I just be strategic and have somebody that really has just the knowledge and experience firsthand? And then I think for you, especially, like, you may be limited with who you decide you wanna be doing work with from the Pinterest management side or strategy side, but your network is still expanded beyond belief, and so your ability to, like, pour that firsthand experience, both prior and current, into us, and knowing that like that one-on-one coaching, but also within a handful of others in that same predicament, I think was great too. So I didn't feel like I was one of many in a big sea, but it really let me feel like there were others that could relate, and then I could also still have the one-on-one connections with you too.
Yeah, sure. Well, definitely that like little community, right? It's like cozy. It's really about that like community over competition. I think that there are so many of us doing this, but it's not necessarily that we have somewhere that's safe where it feels like people aren't going to try to scoop clients from you or that your question might be silly. We also attract people who are at different stages in their business. Now, you had a few clients and you had that experience and you felt good about the Pinterest side of things. Did you have any hesitations about joining the VA Accelerator though? Like before you joined, I know you did reach out to me and we chit chatted, but do you remember off the top of your head if you had any hesitations about jumping into the program?
I knew that I had done a decent amount of investment to try to have as holistic of an approach as possible. That's just important to me, as you mentioned, being a lifelong learner. And so there's always, I think, that little pocket of doubt where you're wondering, is this just going to be a rinse and repeat of something I've experienced before? Is it going to be leaning more heavily into what you do with Pinterest versus the business side of it, right? Are these going to be all that I've heard from my full-time work, but then how are those dots going to be connected? Like, maybe some of those thoughts were running through my head, but I think at the end of the day, like, you get out of it what you put into it, and so I knew I was in a space in that time of year where it felt like if I'm gonna do this, I had the ability, and so I just felt comfortable and confident knowing I had been seeing you on social and email for such an extended period of time, so knowing that you were consistently showing up, that made me feel more comfortable and confident that you were going to consistently show up for us with this experience. My expectations of that have obviously been, like, surpassed and then some.
I'm so glad. Well, and that's why I wanted to bring you here. I think that, again, it's like the quiet part that we don't really talk about, but in the program, we never really know. Let's just be really honest, right? With a lot of digital programs or offers, like, something might have really great marketing, but you have no idea until you're in there. And you have no idea if it's going to suit your learning needs, if they are going to sort of get the type of business you have. I will never forget when I was just starting out, I did a discovery call with a very well recommended business coach. She was lovely, but like during our chat, I could tell I don't even knew if she knew what Pinterest was, but she kept making all these recommendations about, like, being a social media manager, and I was like, "Well, it's a bit different. It's a bit different," and I kept trying to describe to her, and I was like I felt like I was coaching that she, like, just didn't get it, like, the way that even, like, what we do is different, our reporting is different, the type of results and ROI, and I think that sometimes that's why having a very specific group that focuses on, just offering Pinterest management and Pinterest strategy can be so helpful. So, you decided to jump in, you made the investment and you wanted and like you said, you knew you were in a space to learn, absorb, and take advantage. And I really felt like you did. And those are my favorite people, right? Like there's if you ask, I will show up. But obviously every program is like that where you really have to show up and ask the questions and apply that information. Do you feel like the coaching was able to support you where you were at? Like, in the ways that whether it was through messaging or emails or coming to the calls?
Yeah, I love that there was a variety of ways to communicate with you and with others involved in the accelerator. So I think there's a way to meet everyone where they're at, and there's not this sense of urgency or also the sense of disappointment if something doesn't work out with the schedule or something unexpected pops up either. So knowing that were things recorded and accessible after the fact, knowing that you always did your circle back and follow up with us as well. A nice little nudge, right? So that way you help us know that you are here, you are wanting to and willing and ready to give us feedback as well as we go through each phase of the accelerator. And so, yeah, I think having different mediums to connect both individually and collectively has been great. And then I just think knowing there's lots of opportunities to just pop in to ask either a question for the greater group, for us to divide and conquer together, right, and lean on each other in our various experiences, for you to also give us your perspective as well. That was just really nice. It felt encouraging. And to your point, it never felt competitive. I mean, even at the Accelerator, we've had someone in the group say, "Hey, someone I'm doing other, like, website work with, like, I don't have the capacity to maybe do their Pinterest, but they're looking for somebody in this space, right? Like, I feel like that's a right niche, like, send your information and I'll pass it along."
And that speaks to the community because it really is like that. We've had a few different opportunities that come in within our bigger group and we put the call out. And you know what? To be honest, I think a lot of us who are really more, I hate it's very like whatever, but like type A, we're used to doing things ourselves. But if we realize that we're beyond capacity and we're saying, well, we can't, accommodate your request right now, but we might have some people we could suggest to you. I know that actually, when I was really, really busy in my agency, or even when I wasn't necessarily able to take on clients, that potential client would always say to me, well, do you have somebody else that you can recommend? And you want to feel good about the people you are recommending, that to some degree that they understand Pinterest. There's a lot of people out there who are Pinterest managers or Pinterest BAs, and they really aren't necessarily very skilled at sort of the type of work that we talk about in our community. Is there like any particular part of the program that was your favorite or that you would highlight for other people who are thinking about maybe potentially joining the VA Accelerator?
Yeah, I think being able to sit down and reflect on what you want for your business plan and the types of offerings that make sense, especially for you, because everyone's season of life is completely different. So, you mentioning earlier, right? I have 3 young kids under 4 years old. I have a full-time job. I have 2 step teenagers that live with me full time. So, it is just nonstop, I
We were joking when we said like you
have
are so busy, so
I joke
busy.
that I'm Julie and I'm just the cruise director,
Yeah.
right? But in all seriousness, I know that, for my Rolodex of clients that I'm serving, it needs to be anywhere from 1 to 5 at a time. And if I'm going beyond 5, then I have to evaluate, okay, what's the best, how do I change my business plan from there? But then that made me reflect on, okay, if this is the season I'm in right now, how can I be strategic about what I am offering? So it's matching the skill sets that I have, or there's maybe a skill that I know I want to hone on more, maybe like ads, for instance, so that way it can be included in future offerings to really maximize my time and efforts and skills along with where I'm at and what I want to be generating on a month to month basis. So it helped me just take the step back and understand where I'm at. What do I have available? Brainstorm some ideas. And I think from there, that made it more comfortable and structured for me to feel confident in those conversations I'm having with prospective clients. I mean, since our accelerator, I've been able to secure 2 clients as a result of that. So just being really mindful with what I'm doing, how I'm saying it, and making sure that they're receptive to that as well, I think makes it a win-win for myself and
I
prospective
love
clients.
that. Yeah, and I know you did develop a few things like even case studies or your portfolio and some pieces that I know will carry forward with you. And I just know you're the type of person like you implement quick, you ask good questions. I think something that's really important and it's hard for me to verbalize with people when I'm chatting, but like every single person, like say in particular your cohort, everyone was coming to the table with different audiences that they want to serve or clients, the type of offers. And I think that's something really special is that there's this idea that like it's cookie cutter or that there's like things out there and it's like, okay, just do it this way. But something special that does happen in the Pinterest VA Accelerator is really that idea that each and every person who comes into it is sort of at a unique place and based on their life capacity, their ambition, like you're incredibly ambitious. So you know what you want. But it was also probably, I think, because we have a lot in common, like talking through it and like you said, like looking at the options. It kind of like I was going to make the joke. It's like a good therapist, right? Like probably like you know what you want to do, but it's also about like verbalizing it, putting it together and doing that like little test. And then it's like, okay, and then you're going to be off to the races. Like that's what I feel like, right? It's just like the fire has been lit underneath of you. And I think so many people are probably at that stage, but they also feel like hiring a generic business coach might not quite do it, or that other programs that do exist just don't really offer the level of communication or coaching or feedback that I like to bring to the programs that I run. I'm not trying to whatever, but it truly, you guys are my VIPs, right? And our communication, the leads that come from the program will continue long after you graduate. Was there anything in the way that we talk about offers or strategy or even like, things that could happen with clients that kind of stood out to you? Or do you think there was anything that, is a bit different than what you saw elsewhere?
Mm. I think what hasn't been talked about in my previous coachings or programs, but that we, especially one-on-one, talked about is not making assumptions and really like take a step back and just come into things optimistic. And I'm usually a half glass full kind of gal, but I think sometimes it's so easy to like get wrapped in your head with certain things and just expect the worst. Like one of my clients that I secured right after the program, we were contracted, a food blogger contracted for 3 months. And so based on their personality and communication style and some hints that have been dropped in after our first 1 or 2 monthly wrap-up calls, my sense was that we weren't going to be extending beyond that. And then what was wild and just kind of like, had me check myself was when they mentioned, hey, I know that we're wrapping up our contract in March, but April's actually a really busy month for me personally. And I would love for us to continue working together in April. If that's okay, go ahead and send that contract over and we'll keep on keeping on. And I remember sending you that WhatsApp message thinking, wow. I
And I wasn't surprised at all. I think part of it too, though, is this move. Like, if you have work experience or career experience in a very different environment, like you, like working in academia, like client work is different. And even the best of us at some point will make assumptions, or there is even like some mindset work, or even the idea of like imposter syndrome. Like, you might get a client who's this massive client. We've had people go through the program who have worked with celebrities and famous brands. And it's kind of like they're like, wait, can I do this? And I'm like, yeah, damn right you can do it. You're going to do it. But it's that little bit of like, you don't even realize there is no ceiling, right? And I think that sometimes switching to client work, it's easy to be like, oh, it's probably not going to work out, or they might think I'm too expensive, or we can make funny judgments. And I definitely have learned over time, it's better just to assume the positive. And a lot of times, I think too, even when I hire people, if I don't necessarily do something right away, it's mostly just because I'm really busy and my kids have interrupted me, not because like the work wasn't fantastic. Well, I love that. Who do you think the program is well suited to? Like, whether it's like journey, like where they're at, the type of learners they are. Who do you think the program is a good fit for?
Yeah, I think this is twofold. I think if you're someone that's been, in the freelance space and you are starting to dabble into Pinterest and maybe you've got some of that experience under your belt, but you're really thinking about how do I capitalize from here, right? I think there's a lot of opportunity with this program to really just, again, suit you well to be set up for success and kind of really understand how everything intertwines. And then I think there are those such as myself that came into this not necessarily being a newbie, but really just needing that next level support and coaching and networking within this community and the overall accelerator to just feel reassured, to ask maybe some specific questions that from a business side you just know and you understand, and you have your own stories and experiences that help us take the step back and have some of that insight. So I do think whether you fit in one or the other, I think it's something that is of incredible value. And I think, again, if you're also in a season where you can commit to those 6 or so weeks of just showing up, watching those weekly trainings, trying to see if you can make the majority of those calls live as the group, being able to like sit down with maybe that weekly homework that is not a high ask by any means, but I think it's so intentional. And so if you're somebody that wants something intentional and laid out, and then you are receptive to feedback as well, I think that you will really gain a lot out of this, and this would be a great fit for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Amanda. I so appreciate it. Last question. Any specific results or things that you were able to achieve with the help of the program? And then
Yeah.
we'll wrap it up.
So I just signed a second client at the end of March where I did an account audit. We're doing 3 months of both organic management and we're also doing ads management for that second and third month too.
Awesome.
But I can also say that within the first 10 days of doing organic management, we've already gotten a sale for one of their products directly from Pinterest,
Wonderful.
which is super
Amazing.
encouraging for me, and that makes me feel continued confidence and comfortability with sharing with others in the e-commerce space how this can work for you, what kind of offers I can be crafting with some of those frequently asked questions to just help them understand the bigger level. I would say from like the business plan side of it, so I think a freebie lead magnet I'm considering is a secret podcast. So trying to do something that's not just a guide or a mini course, but something that, they can hear me and they can relate to me. I think that's really cool and different. So that's something I'm considering. And then I'm also in the midst of launching my new website. So doing a capsule blog, all
I
that good
can't
stuff.
wait. Well, and I know I saw a sneak peek of your website when you were developing it and that what you were using in the meantime, and it's going to be amazing. Well, I'm really, really grateful for your time. I think one thing that not enough people say is thanking their students and the people who come into their programs, because really your success is my success, right? Like, I love seeing people come in, make it their own, and just like run with it. And you're one of those people that I know that this is just the beginning of your new chapter and doing really exciting things. And I can't wait to see your new website. If people are interested in learning about your services or seeing what you're up to, is there a place where they could chat with you or see what you're up to?
Yeah, so you can either email me at pinningwithamanda@gmail.com. I'll also go off of the handle at pinningwithamanda, both on Instagram and Thread. So that's coming up in the next few weeks. And also Pinning with Amanda will be my website as well. So there's more to come with all that. But yeah, Pinning with Amanda, you can't go wrong. You look that up, you'll find
The
me.
next 6 months are gonna be huge for you, so I know that all those things are gonna be in place, and you're doing all this while working full time and having a young family and making the time to chat with me. Well, Amanda, thank you so much for joining us today. I really, really appreciate you sharing your experience in the Pinterest VA Accelerator, and I hope others who are thinking about potentially getting coaching, whether they're a Pinterest manager, VA, or a Pinterest strategist, that they check out the program, and if they have any questions, they know how to find me. Bye.
Bye.